Ahead tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister's aide is shot. Details of the attack and the suspects in the case coming up.
Also ahead, why the Prime Minister opted out of addressing the Constitutional Commission today.
And national champions crowned in 3 different sports. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
The Deputy Prime Minister's aide, Sergeant Andrew Sweeting, is in hospital tonight after being shot by 2 men while on duty this morning.
Christie Robinson was on the scene during the investigation and for another press conference in which the police commissioner had to deliver bad news about one of his own.
Gunshots rang off in the Gleniston Subdivision Road area shortly before 10 this morning, and when police arrived at the scene, they learned that one of their own, Sergeant Andrew Sweeting, had been shot. The officer has been a member of the Royal Bahamas Police Force for more than 15 years.
Sergeant Sweeting was standing outside of his vehicle somewhere behind the Prince Charles Shopping Plaza when 2 men approached him and demanded that he free up.
Officer Sweeting was in possession of a handgun, attempted to withdraw his service weapon to engage the suspects, who were obviously armed. Gunshots rang out. Officer Sweeting was hit twice, and the assailants then ran off. Sweeting was able to hang on to his weapon. Unfortunately, he was not able to stop the assailants, given the injuries that he sustained very, very quickly.
Officer Sweeting received gunshot injuries to his lower abdomen and to his left palm. Doctors here at Doctors Hospital say his condition is stable.
I had an opportunity to see him a short while ago. He's under the watchful eyes of doctors who are doing a very, very good job. And he was able to talk to me. He is stable. Doctors have assured me that he will be fine. He's obviously having to go into the theater in the next few hours. And of course, a further report will be forthcoming as to the status of this young officer.
Police Commissioner Alison Greenslade insisted the officer, who is assigned to Police Protective Services and serves as the personal aide of Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis, was not targeted.
I can tell you emphatically, he was not targeted. Let me repeat that. He was not targeted. I have no information to cause me to believe as Commissioner that the assailants accosted him and attacked him because they knew he was a police officer. I'm of the view that once he was accosted and attempted to withdraw his service weapon, they obviously recognized, we've taken on a difficult target, and they ran off.
Now, not too long after the officer was shot, police say they arrested a man known to them in connection with the shooting. The commissioner said he was captured not too far from the scene of the crime.
We have the first suspect, we believe, and we are professionally going to look for the second one, but we're going to be very relentless. I'm not going to back off. And so the best thing would be for them to turn him in. Family members and friends should turn him in. If they care about him, they should turn him in.
The Deputy Prime Minister was not with Sweeting at the time of the shooting. Christie Robinson, ZNS Network News.
The elderly woman shot in a home invasion at Polima Street has died in hospital of her injuries. 70-year-old Belpheme Lightburn died shortly after 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Lightburn was at her residence with family when 3 men, one of them armed with a shotgun, robbed them of electronic items. As the men fled the home, gunshots were fired, which resulted in the deceased being shot multiple times. Police arrested 4 people on May 31st in connection with the incident and recovered an assortment of electronic items believed to be the property of the deceased. Investigations continue.
Prime Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie opted out of addressing the Constitutional Commission this morning, saying he believes the Attorney General has already stated the views of the government when she addressed the Commission earlier this year.
I don't want any public utterance by me to influence or be seen to influence the Constitutional Commission, which would have happened if, for example, I articulated a view that as a result of their moving around the country, is a view that they were going to put to the government, then it would make it appear that they're bending to my persuasion. And so, given the fact that a representative of the government, the Attorney General, appeared before the commission, represented views that I shared, I thought in the circumstances it would be best not to impact negatively the work of the commission.
Now, the Prime Minister also responded to Free National Movement Chairman Darren Cash, who has asserted that the government has already made a secret deal with the Bahamas telecommunications company to extend its monopoly on the telecommunications market in exchange for majority shares in the company, reversing the current structure. The Prime Minister announced last week that BTC was considering this as the government continues negotiations. But Mr. Christie insisted today that no new deal has been made.
He's a political person. It is inconceivable that I would have allowed the FNM to know I did a deal and not my cabinet colleagues. I have not spoken to my cabinet colleagues on any deal. I have not done any deal that he's talking about, so he is entirely wrong.
The Caribbean Growth Forum opened today at the Atlantis Resort, bringing together regional leaders and representatives from the Caribbean Development Bank, World Bank, and Inter-American Development Bank. They were sharing ideas and best practices on common issues which stifle development in the region. Andrea Galina, Senior Social Development Specialist with the World Bank, explains that this is the end of the work that started 7 months ago in Jamaica before the next stage for Caribbean countries is implemented.
People went through a painful process of going through from a long list of proposals, which usually doesn't get implemented because it's too long, to a very short list of priorities, 3 to 4, 5 maximum. And these priorities have been agreed by the public sector, the private sector, civil society. Now, these are going to be presented today and tomorrow here at the Bahamas Regional Workshop in order to get the momentum and get started with the implementation phase over the next 12 months. Every government will report to the public every 4 months about progresses on the reforms. Did we made it? Didn't? Are we delayed? Are we on track? And this is the big difference with the Caribbean Growth Forum.
Now, the event was officially opened by Prime Minister Perry Christie, who said that the best ideas, efforts, and plans made at any forum for Caribbean countries would all be thwarted if the issue of crime prevails.
Unless we are able to get our hands gripped around crime in our countries, we're going to have a problem. And I want to be able to tell you that no matter what your specialty is and what brings you here, that you have an obligation as a citizen of your country to understand the full implications internationally of trying to sell a region and market a region in tourism. When countries like the United States of America, or any country of origin of the people who come to our countries to enjoy themselves, have an advisory, a cautionary message as to being careful in your destination, then millions and millions of dollars of marketing is threatened.
Minister of State for Investments in the Office of the Prime Minister, Kalis Roll, says the government will sign a technical cooperation agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank tomorrow evening. It'll be the basis for implementing an economic development plan and a unit within the Office of the Prime Minister, which will give the idea of modernizing the economy more backing.
Whatever decisions we make, we're making it for the long term, and we're making it to ensure that benefits flow throughout the economy. We have accommodated large amounts of foreign direct investment. But if you look at the downstream benefits to small and medium-sized enterprises, it's not shown up in the way it should. And by having this economic development plan and having a unit that is specifically dedicated towards that, we are comfortable again and confident again that we're going to get some of the results that's been absent from the country and absent from the economy.
Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell is chairing a CARICOM fact-finding delegation to the Turks and Caicos Islands today to meet with the political leadership and civil society. The mission was directed by CARICOM foreign ministers to review events in the Turks and Caicos Islands since the return to parliamentary democracy in that country last year following 3 years of direct British rule. The Bahamas has lead responsibility in CARICOM for the Turks and Caicos Islands. The delegation will present its findings and recommendations to the CARICOM heads of government meeting in Trinidad and Tobago on July 4th.
In our first look at weather, a mid-level trough over the central and southeastern islands, it's firing up showers and thunderstorms in those parts. But outside of our studios just now, we have mostly cloudy skies, your temperature at 82 degrees, relative humidity 79%, winds out of the east at about 12 knots, your barometric pressure 1,020.1 millibars. That's 30.12 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned, temperatures around the Falmouth Islands, travel and boating forecasts is still to come.
Well, still ahead tonight, the lesson an Anglican priest was teaching with his reference to St. John.
And 2 men suspected of a recent home invasion get their day in court. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
For those of us who were around 40 years ago, July 10th, 1973, it was a very, very momentous and memorable day. I remember where I was exactly on that day, just as I remember where I was and what I was doing when John F. Kennedy was killed, and also where I was and what I was doing on September the 11th, 2001. The exception with our 40th anniversary celebration is it's a very happy occasion. On July 10th, 1973, I was with my family in Abaco. I'm a 5th generation Bahamian. My family are from the Abacos, and we had a home there back in '73. And I was there with my family, and I remember distinctly lowering the Union Jack and hoisting proudly the Bahamian flag. Also, 40 years ago, believe it or not, I was in the real estate business. This is my 43rd year. So I've seen it all. And I'm very happy to be wishing our Bahama land a very happy 40th anniversary.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Lux Men's Warehouse.